everybody, and welcome to the place where streams come true. And boy, oh boy, do we have an episode to talk about and break down. It's fine. It's like really getting to the nitty gritty now because I think by my math, we
Yeah.
have at the most 3 episodes left, only because Falcon and the Winter Soldier starts on March 19th. So, and it's the Friday spot, so I literally think that's what they're going to do. Is Marvel is the Friday spot, just like Mandalorian was last year. But anyway, first of all, I want to introduce my wonderful co-host Helen. How are you doing today?
I'm, as always, great because these episodes are giving me life.
Oh, I needed it too. To the point I almost
Yeah.
forgot. I was in bed and then I heard my better half like with their slippers just squishing against the floor. It was like 9 in the morning, and I was just like, oh, I just want to sleep. And she's like, WandaVision. I'm like, okay. She's like, I could watch it without you if you want. I'm like, no, I'm getting up. I'm getting up. So
Yeah,
yes.
we have a ritual where we watch it on a Friday afternoon and then again on a Saturday morning just before we record.
Yep.
Just to make sure that if I haven't spotted something, he has. So
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it's like a team effort. There's like four of us. There's two on camera, but it's like a team of four.
Yeah. Yeah, we have like script writers.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's amazing. But so what did we think?
Um it's now getting to the point where things aren't being set up anymore. Things are finally being paid off, which is just a joy. Everybody again on top form with this episode, especially those kids. I know they're not in it for a lot, but I am such a fan. The kid who plays Billy just does these facial expressions which
Yes.
are so funny. Like he has got a bright future in comedic acting ahead of him.
And it's interesting, he has more lines because like Tommy doesn't usually talk much, but there's a lot, and maybe because, he's Wiccan or whatever, but like Billy, I've noticed kind of in like rewatches and things, we get more from him than we do from Tommy kind of thing. But
Yeah, he's more of a story driver
yeah.
than the other twin.
Yeah, definitely. But I, of course, with this one taking cues from The Office, the US version, and at least the intro song is very similar, but then obviously very Modern Family
Modern Family.
as well, kind
Yeah.
of thing. To the point, Olsen is literally doing the hand gestures and the facial expressions and the speech pattern of the woman who plays the mom in Modern Family. Like it's spectacular. But
She is killing it.
she is. I mean, it was just like the way even in the first watch, I caught that. I was just like, wow. But it didn't seem like a caricature, so it still fit with
No.
Wanda. But you could tell, like it was. I don't know. It was just something when she did the standing up and was talking to the kids and saying about how she doesn't have all the answers. Just the way she does that, like monologue, I was like, that is so the mom from Modern Family and everything.
Yeah, I've said it before, but this whole show is just such a show reel for every single person who's on it. For like, oh, you want range? I can give you range.
Do you know though, the one person I was disappointed for was actually Darcy. I don't. I think the
Yeah,
actress's name is Kat. She didn't seem too different when
Kat
she
Dennings.
was in, kind of the world, and then what she's supposed to be. I don't know.
We
Like
didn't really get a lot of her
we
when she
didn't.
wasn't. So I don't know. I also we're kind of getting up to the point where things are a bit more natural in delivery and a little bit more casual, so it's not the wildest thing in the world for her to be a little bit less sort of stylized.
Yeah.
Because I know that that effort goes in to try and make TV shows seem casual or seem natural.
Yeah,
So
no, that's very true. And I mean, Kat Denning is still like amazing, so I'm not like trashing on her. But I
mhm.
was just kind of like, I wanted more, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, okay, she's back as Darcy in the world. But to be fair, we kind of needed that to really, because things are really starting to chug along now at a
Yeah, up in the pace
breakneck,
now.
yeah, breakneck speed. So with that said, shall we kind of break down like what's happened in today's episode?
Yeah, so this episode is called Breaking the Fourth Wall, which is a nice, relatively standard sounding title. I feel like so many shows have had titles like this, but
Yes.
obviously with the Modern Family, Parks and Rec, Office bit is, breaking the fourth wall, as in sort of talking directly to camera. There is a bit where Vision is looking directly into the camera, and it's pure Office. It's just there's something nonsense is happening around you, and it's looking into the camera like you're on The Office, and it's just so funny, and it just cracked me up so much. But yeah, so we have and I guess we have somebody also breaking a wall in this episode as well. Not necessarily the fourth wall, maybe the sixth if we're in a hex.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but but yeah, so episode 7, breaking the fourth wall. Obviously we have our direct to camera bits, and the kids are playing on a Wii console, which steadily switches to various different consoles. So we have obviously the Wii remote, Wiimote, there we go, N64 controllers, which aren't wireless, they just have the wires cut off. I just thought it was really funny. It drove my husband insane.
I bet.
Atari 2600 joysticks, and then finally just Uno cards.
I loved that. I was
What's the
like,
next
oh.
step back? And
Before video
obviously
games.
yeah, and also since. But yeah, we also see the kids are dressed in their signature hero colors. We have Tommy in all sort of decked out in green and white. We've got Billy in his sort of brown, red, blue combo, which obviously we saw in the previous episode as well. And the kids want Wanda to come downstairs and help them because, what are you going to do when your remote keeps changing different eras? And Billy says his head is noisy, which
Yes.
is a callback. Obviously, he was able to sort of psychically be aware that Vision was in trouble, and it sounds like the town itself is getting a little bit more present in his head as one of those Marvel characters with relatively undefined psychic, telekinetic, telepathic abilities.
All those words. So yeah. No, I thought it
Yeah.
was really interesting when he said that, because that actually made my ears kind of perk up. It's like, is this a clue? Because, he was like, I don't feel so good. My head's like really noisy, kind of thing. Kind of then with what the
Yeah.
reveal is towards later in the episode. It made me wonder, is that kind of like some foreshadowing or whatever? But I love that Olsen does the mommy's not sleeping, she's just resting her eyes. Like
Resting
my
her
mom
eyes.
outright used that line on me so many times. I'd be like, Mom, you're sleeping. And my grandmother, like, no, I'm just resting my eyes. Not until I was an adult. I
Yep.
was like, it's the same thing. Or, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah. But
Yep.
it's interesting that she chooses to put herself in what did she say? A quarantining vacation as a punishment.
Yeah, self-quarantine staycation.
Staycation, yes.
I love the staycation. Yeah, so it's like the spending a whole day in the bath on your own, just having some me time. But I love the idea that she's trying to frame it as punishment for
Yeah.
expanding her fake world intentionally. And I love the fact that we have that confirmation that it is all intentional, even if we can see in these bits to camera that she isn't fully sure what's going on, so she isn't necessarily fully in control, as we kind of called out X episodes ago. But yeah, so we can see that everything so far, she seems to have felt like she was in control.
Yeah, I love that she kind of like opens, like, finally is like, okay, I'm gonna get out of bed, and like lifts the covers, and then she's still in like the Halloween costume. She's just like, ugh. And then she comes downstairs, and the boys. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, the boys, when she gets downstairs, there's a little sort of bit between them where Tommy says, I got to it first, and Billy says, you always get to it first. Like, yeah, because he's got super speed.
Yeah. No, I loved that. I didn't actually catch that, but that makes sense, kind of thing. But yeah, the mom comes down, and they both just. It's funny, she doesn't look completely disheveled to me, but maybe that's because that's been like my quarantine look for the last year. They just
this is a relatable episode.
Oh my god, it is very much so. And so the boys watch her go and just get some cereal, and this is the first kind of glimpse that it's changing because she grabs the milk, and it changes from like an almond or an oat milk to then like a carton. Which, funny enough, there's a
So like
missing
a glass bottle.
yeah, and there's a missing
Yeah.
child on the milk carton. So
Yep.
say what you want. There might be some connection there. And then obviously it goes into the glass bottle. And not only does it go to the glass bottle, but the glass bottle is actually in black and white. It flickers between color and black and white and things.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like that, okay, we're having some issues. And then that's when she kind of comes in, and all the boys have several questions. And she's just like, I don't have the answers.
Yeah. We also at this point we get the sort of opening of the episode, which is Wanda, 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 lots of Wanda, and then at the very end we have the like the Modern Family logo, basically, where it says WandaVision. But one of those shots that flashes up is like a ransom note, with like lots of different letters cut out that says, "I know what you're doing, Wanda." Um, and it's it's just like so like everything else is just like, hello, my name is, or like skywriting and all these like I think there's a what was
One's
there's a
cake.
recent show, there's Happy recently did the same thing in their opening credits as well. But yeah, I just loved that's like almost subliminal
Yeah.
like single
Well,
shot of I know what you're
it's
doing, Wanda.
it's funny that you said that because I noticed I saw one that had like a whole bunch of other writing, and I said to my better half, I was like, I have to go back because I bet you one of those something is mixed in. And sure enough, this morning saw it again, and I was like, yeah, it says I know what you're doing, Wanda. I was like, I knew it. Like it's those little things that it's like you always go back and you pause and you put the audio descriptions on
Yep.
to try to get all your clues. But yeah, definitely good point, and good for bringing that up because I meant to say that. So then we get to a conversation on the couch.
Yes. Actually, just before this,
Mm.
we do find out that the broadcast is gone.
Oh
The
yes.
broadcast is no longer airing, which is kind of like a kind of brief sort of cutaway to outside on like the main rest of the world. Yeah, and we find out that the broadcast is gone, which is just interesting to be aware of, given that we are still in sitcom land.
Yeah.
We're still doing bits to camera, we're still acting as though we're in sitcoms, but there is no longer any sort of broadcast to validate that purpose.
Mm.
I just thought that was interesting.
Do you think, because of that being said, that this will be the last episode that they're doing any kind of sitcom reference? Because this is now the 2010s.
Yeah, so given the end of the episode, yeah, that's definitely something I wanted to come to sort of
Mhm.
near the end with like what next week and future episodes will bring.
Brilliant. So yeah, we'll put a pin in it now, and we will get back to that. So
Yeah.
so
But
yeah,
yeah, that conversation on the sofa is just so delightful. Like it's just I don't know, I just really enjoyed everybody's performances there, because Wanda is just like over it,
yeah.
and Billy and Tommy are just, like I say, delivering just exceptional facial expression one after the other, and it's just so good.
What I do find very interesting
Um,
is one point in that conversation when they say Uncle Pietro,
Uncle
she
P, yeah.
yeah, she shoots down, is like, that's not your uncle. Now, my
Yeah,
question to
don't
you,
believe anything that man said, he's not
yes.
your uncle.
Now, here's my question. Is that because she
Mhm.
now knows that's not the real one, or is it because she's hurt by what he said in the last episode? So,
Well, I think given the events of the last episode, she kind of knew that he wasn't the same
hmm,
Pietro. Like, she wasn't unaware that it's an entirely different person.
mhm,
And I think his his last line in that previous episode was like, you can't, kill your dead husband twice. That kind of made her go, okay, you're not like you're not who I want you to be. Go away.
yeah.
Remove you from everything, throw you into a fake tombstone. Um, which is, I wish I could do that to my enemies. Uh,
I think we all
but
do.
yeah, like she was very much sort of like, nope, forget about him. he doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And she sits down between them on the sofa. I want to say kind of relatively defeated by the fact that she has no answers.
Yeah.
And as the person who has been controlling everything up until this point, she has no answers. And the way she says, like, oh, I'm your mom, which means that you expect me to have the answers. Obviously, very sort of sitcom-y situation to be in, but also like she basically willed them into existence. So like it's an even deeper sort of like, I know that I literally created you from my thoughts, but I can't answer this for you despite the fact that I have this insane ultimate power.
Yeah. And then, of course, after these conversations, our usual nosy neighbor comes in, and I love that, like, she almost senses it, like, she doesn't even hear the knock, like, she just does her little hand whip, and then in comes
Yep.
Agatha in purple, which, interesting enough, kind of pays off at the end as well. But,
And straight in there with calling her Agatha as well there, Shannon.
oh, sorry.
Oh, it's not a spoiler. If anyone's watching this, they have to have already seen the episode.
This is very true, and I mean, I guess it's because, like, people have been speculating this from day one, so sorry. Agnes, she's Agnes at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you. I actually totally missed that. But yeah, it just kind of comes in, and I love the two terminologies she uses, where she's like, she's one bang, or as we call in the UK, fringe, short from cutting her own hair. And then later, I love when she's like,
one split end away from
"That's
cutting
it.
her own bangs, I think is the
Yes, that's
phrase.
it. That's perfect. Yes, see, that's it." And then I love that she's like,
It's
"I'm
almost
gonna."
like I write down
Well, yeah, it's like
everything that's said in these
you're the
episodes.
you're the note taker. But I don't know. I that's stuff I say in real life. So I don't know. I find that stuff funny. Just like I'm not gonna tell her children that she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Totally remember that
Yeah.
slogan as a kid. So that's why I just giggled so much at that. But that was a bit later in the episode. But anyway, very quickly, Agnes is like, "I'm gonna take the kids out so you can have some me time," which of
Me
course,
time.
and of course Wanda's like, "Really? Of course, thank you." And it's like,
Yeah. And we also get like, again, just like this, like, what do we call the 2010s era? The tennies? I don't know what we're supposed to call that.
I know. I guess, yeah.
What,
It's not the
noughties
odd.
and 20s?
So it's not the oddies. So it's like, yeah, I guess the 2010s,
The tennies, the
the tennies.
teens. Um, but yeah, the Agnes is like, oh, don't worry, you can come with me, like holding on to them for dear life. I won't bite. And then her bit to camera, I actually did bite a kid once.
Oh, that's so funny.
And it's like, again, just like peak office comedy, where it's just like immediate contradiction in hilarious fashion,
Yeah.
but also you're like, did you? I'm legitimately worried now.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is too, like, she goes on about like this mole on her back. Is that just a comic like bit, or is that kind of like a
It's a
hint
bit.
at some?
I
Okay.
think it's a bit.
I'd say this is the problem now. Everything I'm like, does it mean something? I go to Helen. I'm like, what does it mean? You're like, it's a bit. It's a comedic bit. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it's that again. It's that sort of like again, like I think humor kind of got a bit weird in like the 2010s. Everyone was like, I don't know. Most TV shows from around that time, like there's just the comedy just gets really weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it did just feel like a bit to me.
Okay. But I love their just. So she's like, "Oh yes, we talked about this boundaries." It's like, yeah, okay. And then
Yeah.
exit the children, and then
Yeah.
we see that plants are changing,
Everything
and
in that
then
house is going a little bit
everything.
nutso.
Yeah, it just goes
Yeah.
berserk. She completely is losing the plot, and then keeps talking to camera
Yeah,
about.
and we also see something that I thought was quite interesting was we obviously see things going sort of back and forth between different eras, but we also see like the hole in the side of the house, um, which presumably being the same one that she threw Monica through. But we also see the stairs
Oh.
kind of go like a little bit like snowy, and I was wondering if it was like maybe the town is a bit derelict, and maybe that's what's happening here. Like there's something weird's gone on, and the town is now sort of falling apart a bit, because I just found it really weird that those steps were there with the snow.
Mm.
It just felt very different to everything else.
Oh, I didn't catch
um
that.
but but yeah, so we see the the big hole in the wall. But again, this could not necessarily be how things actually are, considering that she is reshaping things to her reality. So maybe it's just thinking about Sokovia, or thinking about the place where the Russians were experimenting on them when they were kids. I can't remember. But yeah, I felt like that was a snowy area.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing, as I am wont
That's
to
all
do,
right.
apparently.
I love it. No, it's great because it makes me go, "Oh wait, what does this mean?" And I didn't even catch the hole. I just saw like obviously
Yeah.
like the through the plywood and things like, but I guess yeah, I'm missing that it's the hole that she Monica
Yeah.
out and things. But and I also thought it was interesting that the stork appeared because I didn't think she had control of the stork. So
No, and she clearly doesn't have control of what's going on in that house.
yeah, so I don't
So
know. It was interesting. So what happens next after we're clearly saying she does not? She's losing the plot, literally.
yeah, we. I think that that's actually the point where we get her bit to camera, where she's just going, "I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine," over and over again, and you can see, like, at the end of that bit, that she does not believe what she's saying.
Yes.
But yeah, so next we are back outside the Hex, and we are with Monica and our superstar boy Jimmy Woo. And Jimmy receives the email that Darcy sent last episode, and from reading what was on the actual email, pretty much tells us exactly what's in that email. There's no additional information that we are missing, and it's very much kind of what we were putting together last episode. Hayward wasn't decommissioning Vision; he was trying to bring him back online, and sentient weapons, as the SW in Sword are. And we end up getting out to a little bit further outside of town, where Monica meets up with the group of people who it seems are still kind of loyal to her and Monica rather than to Hayward.
Hmm.
And we meet Major Goodner, who I had a look. I have not seen anywhere in the comics.
Okay.
The fact that this was built up to relative, like it was like like little asides and little like smiles to herself when she was sending things. I'm still banking on scrolls,
Yeah.
just saying, because otherwise, because the way that it was revealed was like,
Oh.
this is an important
Yeah.
person, Major Goodner, who you've never heard of before.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm putting money on either Talos or his daughter.
Yeah.
So um so yeah, we find out that they've got an armored moon buggy.
Yeah. Which I mean
which I
looked
just
wicked,
love.
but I do think it's also
Yeah, really, really
interesting
cool
they
design.
use the terminology, kind of going to your scroll theory, that they say loyalty. Now, I mean, obviously that
Hmm.
could be, but she said, I'm loyal to. Oh, Monica says, "Oh, I know you were, loyal to my mother," and she returns and says, "Not just your mother, we're loyal to." I don't know. It was just weird the use of the word loyal. Like I don't
Mm.
know, and it just literally just pinged in my head when you were talking about the scrolls. So I don't know. Anyway, I digress. Sorry.
Yeah,
Moon
I
armored.
mean, if if there's people who are going to be sort of willing to help someone like Monica, it's going to be someone who her and her family, specifically Maria, helped sort of save from genocide,
Yeah.
right? like as sort of paybacks go, they're probably going to want to help.
Yeah.
So I'm like I say, I'm just on Team Scrolls right now.
But yeah, we get
Um,
amazing armored looking. You know what it looked like? It looked like the moon rovers and things. They had an like Armageddon. Like the way it looked was just like that massive like tanker. And I looked, there was like equipment on the back and like a satellite little
Yeah.
hookup and things, and yeah,
Yeah, it's a full beastie. But the thing that made me sort of smile was it's a moon rover, right? It's an armored moon rover, and although Marvel have kind of swept them under the rug, the Inhumans do still live on the moon. Even though that kind of series has been, you know, very carefully hidden from view. You can find it on Disney Plus if you try really hard. um but the Inhumans still live on the moon, and if anyone's looking for sentient weapons maybe off world, and wanted to try and, you know, find them, you probably would need a big armored moon buggy, because some of them have got face lasers, um and, you know, all sorts of nonsense. So yeah, I was just sort of thinking, armored moon buggy, is that to go and get Black Bolt or anything?
yeah, no, definitely.
But yeah, just something I was thinking about. We at this point, yes, we cut back inside the hex, and Vision is awake and in the circus.
And that,
It is surrounding him.
yes, and
Good times.
the kind of like world's strongest man kind of costume guy shows up, which is funny. He still has the S on his belt, so obviously still first sword. But I think it's the same guy that like greeted Darcy in the beginning. That was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, I think, like, just from sort of like clocking a couple of faces, I think it is mostly the same extras who were on like the sword base.
yeah.
It kind of looks like, and to be honest, why would you hire anyone
Well,
else,
yeah,
right?
exactly. I think,
Especially like if you go, oh, you need to be a sword agent who later on turns into a clown who can ride a unicycle. Just hire an extra who can ride a
yeah.
unicycle, and then dress him in a suit and go, now you're part of sword.
I love that they made Darcy a quote escape artist, because then that kind of is.
I know,
I love that because obviously
because she was chained to the car.
yeah, but then like when we're in like the hex world, she's just like, because obviously Vision's coming off a bit of a creeper, kind of like a we made a connection last night, and I mean
Yeah.
it's so kind of like, I love that kind of tongue in cheek like innuendos, and she's like,
Yeah.
okay, creeper, no, and then just poof, breaks the chains like nothing. Love it.
Yeah. I will say, like, I really enjoyed, I like I say, every episode is a new delivery of something, and Paul Bettany this episode is not being Vision. He isn't being 50s Vision or 60s or 70s Vision. He's being Paul Bettany.
Yeah,
He is just like jumping, and like his delivery is so casual that it's just so funny to see that coming from Vision inside a world.
yeah,
Like seeing like behind the scenes stuff where he's just like chatting away and having a tea or whatever, that's fair enough. But when it's like, no, this is the show, he just talks like that now. And it'd just be really funny to see, you know, the Vision, who is arguably like one of the most powerful Avengers, like jumping because a strong man is banging on his car window. I don't know, it just really tickled me.
yeah. No, that was funny. So yeah, basically he zaps Darcy, so she's out of kind of hex world, and then
Yes.
they
And before he zaps her, he's like, oh, you know, like asking her for help, and she goes, oh no, I'm notoriously self-involved. I just thought that was
that
so
was a good
funny.
line. That was such a good line. But I love that they get in like the
Oh.
funnel cake van, and then they're
Mhm.
to escape. And basically, they're on this road where there's like nothing, and yeah, just basically giving Vision his background story.
Yeah, she basically like explains Infinity War to him,
Yeah,
which is just, you know, traumatic
yeah,
as things go. But yeah, so we sort of leave them and return back to Wanda, who has a bit to camera, which is kind of one of the sort of, I would say, probably more interesting bits to camera that we see in this episode, where she says, I don't understand why it's happening, why everything is falling apart, and why I can't fix it. And then a voice comes from behind the camera saying, do you think maybe this is what you deserve? and she's like, "What? You're not supposed to talk?" But the voice, I couldn't clock who that necessarily was. It didn't sound like anyone that I was familiar with. It was just like interviewer on the closed captions, because obviously I went and checked.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you do.
but like in the second episode or whatever, it was like, well, it's Jimmy Woo because it said on the closed captions.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, you know, she is perhaps projecting back on herself, and that's where we get the advert for the antidepressants.
Oh, you know, I wanted to ask you this because it's very interesting, the name Nexus.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Yep.
people are going to throw tomatoes at me, but hear me out. The last season in Fortnite was Marvel, and it was called the Nexus Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously that comes from a comic book cue. So I'm not saying that's a Fortnite Easter egg, but Nexus must obviously mean something in the Marvel world, because there was a massive dude that showed up at the end that was like earth changing and things, and this is where like Helen is just like, you're just such a child and you don't know
I'm listening
But that's what I was like, oh, Nexus obviously means something in the Marvel universe, maybe not the MCU yet until now, but it was like, it's a thing, and so that's why.
No, I understand. What I was actually thinking was, I don't know anything about Fortnite, so I don't know who turned up. Like, it could have been Galactus.
It was,
could have
that's
been...
it was Galactus.
Okay, so yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, so like the Nexus is a, you know, a legit thing within the MCU. Scarlet Witch in particular is sort of, I think she's known as like a nexus point, or maybe even a nexus, because she's like a constant throughout all universes and all realities. There are like certain people who are always a la Thanos, like inevitable. There's always like they always exist. So yeah, like obviously you're absolutely right. Nexus is an established part of
In a very backwards.
I wasn't judging you. I'm sorry, my face looks like that.
No, it's just one of those, because obviously I'm a gamer on a different channel, and so yes, I do play Fortnite. I just not all the time, but I very much played the last season because it was Marvel based, and so when I saw Nexus, I was like, hey, there's gotta. So
I recognize that.
Yeah. Well, and obviously going back to the commercial is very meta, and it's funny, it is so on the nose too. I remember these drug commercials, like we had them in America also, like in the Audis as well. So because obviously not obviously, but I moved to England in 2010, and this is supposed to be the 2010s era, but those kind of commercials with like the text was perfect, the talking about the side effects, the slow motion, I mean, on the money, absolutely on the money. But yeah, talking up,
I mean, like,
go ahead.
Even as someone who grew up in the UK and has never lived anywhere except for the UK, I am familiar with the American tendency to do drug commercials with giant lists of side effects at the end.
Yeah.
It's a trope, it's a meme, everyone knows.
Exactly. But no, it was great about the whole, like, you know, confronting yourself. I mean, you probably haven't written down, but like what they said, like the side effects were.
Yes. So side effects include feeling your feelings, confronting your truth, seizing your destiny, and also more depression. Which I just thought was like a nice little end.
That's interesting that you say one of them is seeing your truth. What is it? Seeing your truth?
Confronting your truth and seizing your destiny.
Which is interesting because literally, I think the next scene, Monica Rambeau talks about accepting her mother's death because it's her truth.
Yeah, like a little bit further on in the episode. Yeah, that definitely happens.
So these commercials are definitely like, sorry.
Yeah.
I just, because that's a very specific term to say is.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. It's the more that I'm watching these, the more I'm starting to feel like it's very much Wanda's subconscious. That the ads are sort of, I'm still I will still have money on the people in them being her
Parent.
mother and father.
Mm-hmm.
Although it could just be, you know, a stand-in for Wanda. But yeah, it's starting to feel like it's her subconscious trying to get through to her in some way. Like there is something else going on here.
Yeah.
Which again I want to talk about at the end. But one of the other things that's said in this advert is that Nexus works to anchor you back to your reality or the reality of your choice.
Yeah.
Which I quite liked. And the drug in the product is called Nexal Promicide, which is a nice made up noise of antidepressants. Love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a sort of like a cool ad, and it's also got the sort of trick shot that happened. I feel like it was everywhere in like the 2010s, where someone would lie down on a bed and then walk away from the bed because they cut to another shot where the bed was stuck on a wall.
Yeah.
It just feels very, very 2010s. It feels very like a cheaper version of the gag they did in Sherlock,
Yeah.
which I think was like the 2010s as well. But yeah, it was everywhere. Everyone was doing that gag at some point or another in that era.
It's those little details that I love that they pay attention to for when you're establishing what decade these shows
Yeah.
are taking place in, because that's very subtle in my opinion. So I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
So what
for sure.
happens next?
Yeah, so next we cut to inside Agnes's house, which I should have clocked. We were going to have the reveal from the end of this as soon as we saw the inside of her house, because I thought, oh, that is an aesthetic. I love it. This is where I want to live.
It is a very much
So
Helen place.
I should have clocked it was going to be some, you know, because you always know if Helen likes a character, they're probably going to turn out to be a villain or something.
Yes.
or in some way. But yeah, so we see the return of the wonderful little rabbit, who isn't entirely white. It's actually a little white and ginger cutie. And his name is Senor Scratchy.
Yes.
Oh, I love him.
Know.
And Billy's, you know, got him on his lap and given him a little cuddle. And Agnes sort of, you know, asks him, you know, penny for your thoughts. And he says, in a way that you could very easily have made horror, the way that we had in the first couple of episodes, I like it here. You're quiet, Agnes, on the inside.
Yeah.
And I was like, you could have had a sting noise at the end of that, and it would have been really excellent horror. But instead, it was like, you know, oh, to do fun music.
Yeah.
And she just like looks at the camera,
kind of like,
like, oh, yeesh. Which I just really enjoyed. But yeah, so it's I guess with sort of the way that Billy's powers are being established, there's sort of two ways of looking at that, right? You've got either the start of the episode, you are re-establishing for anyone who perhaps doesn't watch it obsessively, that Billy has some sort of telepathic ability, and therefore later in the episode it doesn't come as like a weird out of left field thing for him to say. You can also say the fact that he is mentioning it at the beginning of the episode tells you that either his powers are developing, which we kind of did see last episode, that they was, you know, starting to come out, or the people in the town are getting louder mentally. And there's obviously something about Agnes's house and Agnes that means that he's not experiencing that you know, chatter in his brain. But yeah, I just there's obviously a couple of different ways to read that. But I just really enjoy, again, man, those kids.
Oh, I know.
Never usually a fan of like children, you know, child actors, because they always feels a little bit like they're struggling through it, but this one, it feels like they are just
genuine, like
top tier.
Yeah,
good kids. Good kids.
And then what happens?
But yeah, so next we return back outside, and Monica is suited and booted in a full like lunar spacesuit.
Yeah.
It is looking a little bit sleeker than things we have right now, so I guess Sword have some
Money.
extra tech. Um, but yeah, so we see her like getting ready to drive through the hex in her armor plated. I can't remember what the exact list of requirements that she had in the
Yeah.
previous episode, but she wanted it to be like lead lined because that would obviously stop gamma radiation. Um, and she had all these specs, which obviously the uh, the guys on the outside have gotten for her.
Yes.
Um, and she, gets in it, just
Full steam
makes a
ahead.
beeline straight for it, full speed.
Oh.
And it's such a cool shot. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then just literally, we think, yep, we're gonna plow through, and it literally is like, nope. I mean, to the point she keeps pedal to the metal, trying to get through the barrier, and actually the rover is tilting now on its back, and then now almost like a
Yeah.
floor is lava kind of thing
Yes.
coming through, and it becomes this panic of get out of there, get out of there, and then it's weird once she gets out. Then it's like the rover is like picked up in the air and then partially sucked in, but then spat back out, and it's like
Yeah.
a like, oh god, what would you call it here? But it's like a work van front, and then
Hmm.
a lunar rover back, and then
Yeah.
so everyone's kind of
It's a really cool
it's
cool looking shot,
and
to
it's
be
so cool
honest.
because like the wheel, like the middle of the six wheels, so that middle one is like half. So there's like not even a wheel, like half a wheel. I mean, oh, it just looks great.
Yeah.
But of course, we know it's coming. But Monica kind of looks at the group, looks at the wall, and is kind of like, I can make it through it. Everyone's like, no, no, don't do it, because as we've
Yeah.
been told, her molecular, she's being rewritten on a molecular level, but she pushes through, and we hear a lot, basically all lines from Captain
From
Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
And I
Just
mean,
so much.
and it's great because I have a theory, and I'll get to that in a second, but basically, and we hear her mom saying, I'm not leaving Monica, and Monica's like, no, you have to go.
Convincing
And
her.
then she's like, I
Yeah.
loved this part. What if I meet you halfway? And it's literally as she's halfway through the barrier, and you see her kind of split, and then we hear Captain Marvel's voice saying, that the line about like, there's lucky to have you, kind of, you're the bravest I know.
Yeah, but also Nick Fury saying she sort of wants to go with them, and Nick Fury says, only if you learn to glow like your Aunt Carol.
That's it. Yes, that's a big one, and I didn't catch that until I watched it the second time with the subtitles on, because I obviously heard. It's like it's the same thing like with the end of the Rise of Skywalker, hearing all the different Jedi speaking. So it's one of those you have to you miss it if you don't have the subtitles on.
Yeah.
But then it's like, so I think after he says that line, and another one, like she just all of a sudden pushes through, and all different forms of her come together, and she comes through, and her eyes are blue, and ladies and gentlemen, we have Photon.
Yeah, and as she went through the barrier, that whole spacesuit that she took off her helmet, but that whole spacesuit has now been replaced by, I'm guessing it was like the undersuit that she was wearing inside the spacesuit, but that is like a pretty nice version of Photon's superhero outfit. And I couldn't work out if that was just what she was wearing underneath and the barrier just like ate through all of her spacesuit, or whether it like changed it to look like that.
She's still, because I know I wondered this too, and I caught this in a second. She is still wearing the white suit, but I love how you can do this, but of course the power of editing. She grabs something here, and you see the rest of her suit fall, and then you see the reveal of her running, and it's like the black and the gray, and even me, who's funny, didn't even know about this character until watching all like the like Easter eggy videos from like New Rockstars and all these things, was like, oh my god, this is like a wonderful shout out to Photon kind of thing. So even me kind of, I was so excited. Sure. And it's also cool that for a minute she sees the world very different, and then kind of has to like close her eyes and open it. So obviously that's a power she can turn on and off kind of thing.
Yeah, but so what she's seeing there is like the electromagnetic not radiation, but the sort of electromagnetic fields on the overhead wires. And obviously, with Photon, her thing is energy. Another side kind of usefully poorly defined superhero, in that like she can turn into energy and also see energy and also use energy, and when you define it like that, she basically can do anything she wants.
Pretty much, because energy comes from
Which is
lots
just
of different
great.
things. Like,
Exactly.
oh my
But
god.
like with her though, she has gone through the hex a couple of times. The hex being a byproduct of the Scarlet Witch's power. Scarlet Witch's power coming from the Mind Stone. So just like her pal Captain Marvel, she has a Infinity Stone adjacent power set. So
Yeah, I definitely think this
oh,
is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no. So I was thinking about the going through the barrier and sort of like, why did they decide to basically just play all the dialogue from Captain Marvel? And sort of the what I took away from it was sort of her memory of when she was convincing her mum to do something brave, and therefore it was her also doing something brave. I don't know, like I don't want it to just be like they played all the bits from Captain Marvel to remind you of Captain Marvel. I feel like there has to be a better reason than that.
I have theories. There's better reasons. You know, everyone's going on
Yeah.
about. Sorry, I'm going to jump a little bit.
No, go
But
for it. Go for it.
I think, you know, everyone's going on about there's going to be this cameo that's like the equivalent of Luke Skywalker showing up in the end. I think we're going to get to see a couple people. I think we're going to see Carol Danvers. And if not,
Yeah.
we're going to get an end credit scene. Kind of like this. Was this the first episode that did one, by the way?
Yeah, I think so. Because I always watch all the credits because
Okay.
I'm boring. But yeah, like I did. That was the first one that we had.
I think we'll get an end credit scene of Monica meeting up with Captain Marvel. So Photon meeting Captain
Yeah.
Marvel.
I mean, that would set up Captain Marvel too, because
Yes,
she is
I
going to be in it.
I was going to ask you if they've established that she's
Yep,
in it.
that's confirmed.
Okay, so yeah, so I think that's, and I kind of like that that's how we've got a nice subtle backstory of how did she become Photon. We didn't need to have it in the film, but if it's not in the film, it's not missed, kind of thing. I don't know, but I feel that's one of our people. I also think Doctor Strange is going to show up at the end as well. And then, of course, I know the big one everyone's talking about is Magneto. But anyway, that's where I wanted to go with Captain Marvel in my theory. And maybe that's where some scroll buddies are going to appear as well. But yes, I digress.
Determined to get my scrolls.
So great. So now we head back to Vision and Darcy in the funnel cake van.
Yeah, this is a relatively short sort of section. This is where Darcy sort of explains Infinity War to Vision, and we again sort of for first time viewers, anyone who hasn't seen Age of Ultron, it's a useful little primer. His mind used to be an AI named Jarvis, woohoo, and his body is evil genocidal Ultron. So we immediately have sort of a like 2-sentence primer on who Vision is, which is really, really useful. This is also where Vision gets to do a bit to camera, and it just very much feels the most casual thing. He's even like scratching his ear, and stuff like that. And I just found it really, really funny to watch. And he's even got like a little clip-on mic on his superhero outfit, and it just it looks like the sort of special feature from Thor Ragnarok that Taika Waititi did with him, like with a roommate. It just kind of feels like slightly out of place, but also really fun. They sort of make sure they establish that Vision can't leave the hex, and sort of question why that would be. But as I've said a couple of times before, I'm expecting by the end of this series for Wanda to expand the hex to fill the entire world. And then Vision won't need to leave the hex as long as he doesn't leave Earth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just sort of found that, an interesting thing for them to bring up. But Darcy also sort of very specifically says, I've been watching WandaVision for a week, and what you two have is real. She really sort of believes in their love story, even though it was very clearly a manicured piece for camera, which I just thought was very, very sweet.
Yeah, it was very sweet to be like, what you're feeling is real. Because obviously, he's kind of like, God, I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I don't remember this, but I think it was almost necessary too. And for anyone who was like, ugh, you don't need that kind of like primer, you do. Because if I go to my parents and go, this is a fantastic show, you need to check it out, this is what I've been podcasting about for the last 6 weeks, they need that, because they don't have one. It's not like a Star Wars film where it's like, oh yeah, just watch that. I mean, there's a lot of films to watch to kind of get the full context. Yeah. So it is necessary, and I think it's good that they do think about outside audiences. That some of the more diehard fans, just if they are complaining, I don't know if they are, but they just it needs to happen.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I think if anyone was to complain about 2 sentences explaining who Vision is, they're probably the same people who are like, what do you mean the first 3 episodes were exactly what was sold to us? Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
Yeah, but next scene, Monica reaches Wanda's house.
Oh, yes.
And it's all kicking off. She just like runs straight into her house. And I just, no, we don't stand on ceremony here.
Yeah.
Very, very sort of immediately, just sort of, it was Hayward. Everything's about Vision. How much information can I get into a couple of sentences, knowing that you're gonna freak out?
Yeah, and like literally, like, I love she does a little flick and like she's lifted her in the air, and then like I don't know if she.
I think she like slams her down. She's expecting to be able to injure her, I guess.
And then of course we kind of see like the photon kind of stopping it, and Wanda clocks
superhero
it.
landing.
Yes, superhero landing. And Wanda clocks it. She clocks that. She's like, oh, hang on.
Oh, you're different.
Yeah,
now.
Exactly, kind of thing. And well, it's because she also had the slight blue tinge in her eyes and all that kind of stuff. But Wanda clocks it, kind of thing. It's like, oh.
I mean, Photon is probably a pretty solid character to put up against Wanda, because she sort of has those, again, slightly vague energy powers. Like she can phase through stuff, she can become other kinds of energy, so she can like become light or like electromagnetic energy or whatever it is. And when Wanda is also sort of like an energy type fighter, that's going to be a really useful thing to go up against. And it's nice because it's not like Iron Man, where it goes, it's Iron Man versus bigger Iron Man. They both have the same powers. They are both an Iron Man. They kind of have like complementary powers. So if there was to be like a big showdown between them, it's not just going to be like pew 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 to each other, just constantly. They're just the same thing, but just in different colors. I hope.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get Monica saying, don't let him make you the villain, obviously talking about Hayward because he sucks. And Wanda's response being, maybe I already am. Which breaking my heart, because half the reason why I have not been in on all these, like, oh, Wanda's the evil one who's like trying to kill everyone in town, like she's the worst. Like I love Wanda, I love the Scarlet Witch, and I know she has her bad sides, but I was always like, no, she's a hero, she's doing everything for a good reason. And now she's just like, maybe I am the villain. I'm like, no.
Or is that kind of like, because
that sort of, hey, when you're depressed, that's how you
feel like you are just the most worst person in the world, kind of thing. So I don't know, and I'm like, and I also was like, are they setting up the whole like she is the bad guy in the multiverse of madness and all this kind of stuff? But no. So yeah, it's on a lot of different levels. But I love that this whole time. And I think Wanda is starting to see it. Monica is like, I'm not giving up on you. I know what you're feeling. And so she expresses, you know, I lost the most dearest person to me. But the way I got past it is, and that's my truth. And I feel like she literally is about to say, and Wanda, you need to accept it as your, and
Yeah.
then of course that's when nosy neighbor.
Well, yeah, peeking through the curtains, going, now is the time for me to go and do something about this.
Yeah.
And there's Agnes, young lady, I think you've overstayed your welcome.
Yes.
Still being very sitcom-y, let's brush this all under the rug. But yeah, the face on her, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah. So yeah, and so of course now Agatha is grabbing, Wanda again, being that manipulator, and brings her into the house,
leading her off. And Wanda sort of looks over her shoulder to Monica and says, "Don't make me hurt you."
Yeah.
And we're during this whole altercation as well, we had sort of some of the neighborhood villagers community members
villagers
we had all the people who live there sort of
Pause.
just watching this thing happening,
Yeah.
And then after it's done, just go back to doing their normal thing. So yeah, it's just, again, it's interesting to sort of see that sort of thing happening when, if Wanda isn't fully in control of this and she's being fully distracted by Monica, then is it like a sort of conscious, subconscious, subconscious sort of thing where it's just always ticking on in the background, or again, is it something else?
Yeah.
We do have a little extra bit, which I think is obviously just going to set up where everyone sits in the next episode, back with Darcy and Vision in the car, where they have blockade after blockade of various things stopping them from getting to and from around town. I think the first one is that everything's red lights. Then it's like construction work, which doesn't happen. Nothing really happens, and then like a whole bunch of school kids, all going across. And Vision, in his bit to camera, he's saying, I think these are all things that Wanda is doing to stop me getting home. And then he sort of like becomes very self-aware, takes off his little radio mic, and just like, what am I doing talking to you? I'm gonna go. And it's fun because with all of the sort of sitcom, like things like Parks and Rec and things like that, the intention is always to give the impression that there's things that are being recorded and then things that are recorded after the fact where they're talking about the situation or talking about the situation that's going to happen later.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it's almost like it's just their internal monologue, because Vision is sitting there in the van with Darcy, thinks to camera, why am I sitting here? I should just go. Why am I sitting here talking to you, Darcy? I should just go. And then cut back into the van and he just flies out the top. Like, wait a second, what am I doing in a van? I can fly.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, bye.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just kind of like a fun, not necessarily spin on the idea of like the bits to camera, but yeah, it's just I don't know, I just found it interesting that like how that worked out. I don't know.
No, it's true, and I did find it hilarious that he took off his little lavalier mic.
Yeah,
and that was a great little bit. But yeah, and then I think after that we're back in the house.
Yeah, Agnes offers Wanda tea, and Wanda just suddenly becomes like hyper aware of all the things in the room. And I don't know if that's because so she's sort of like all the sounds suddenly become like very sort of, she becomes sort of hyper aware of them. Maybe like a callback to what Billy was saying about how Agnes, like, here is quiet and Agnes is quiet. Like maybe there's something about her house that is particular. And that just the scariest kids show on the TV.
Well, you know what got
oh my god,
what made me kind of think of another witch film, actually. So we see like a locust or a cicada, which
a cicada,
they're
yeah.
the devil. I hate those bugs.
God. They're just noisy.
No, they run into you, and then their wing. No, too much. You always talk about childhood trauma. No, but the noise, it doesn't match the insect. The noise, I swear to God, is the same noise as the beetle that is in the Sandra Bullock film. In Practical Magic, if something bad is going to happen to a loved one, you hear this beetle noise. And that noise, I swear to God, I'm going to have to find it. I will insert it here, possibly, to try to demonstrate what I'm talking about, because I just realized I have to get a clip of WandaVision, which is impossible to get. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I swear to you, that little locust sound is the same sound from Practical Magic, which was, again, a film about female witches and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, that might be a very deep dive. I hope I could be right. I don't know. But anyway, that was the first thing that called to me, was that little cricket bug noise. But she sees, back to WandaVision, she sees there's 2 sandwiches here. And is like, where's the boys? And then, of course... And sorry, I'm just...
in just the most casual way, Agnes goes, oh, they're probably just playing in the basement.
Yeah,
just like the most casual leading of Wanda.
Exactly. And so Wanda starts going down to the basement. Now, I didn't clock this the first time, but I did the second time, because the second time I was watching it on my phone, which was a brighter screen, whereas the first time we watched it was the big screen TV, but with a window. But I didn't realize there's vines and trees on the wall that she's walking down. And when we get her first POV, there's like a room with like a portal or something there.
Well, the thing is like, you saw the bottom of the stairs, and my first response was, I was just like, oh, it's a Dexter murder room, because it looks like those like plastic tarps, and I was like, are we gonna go down there and see like the children in pieces? And then we got down there and I was like, oh no, it's just like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Where it's just like that sort of like underground, like big stone like arches and like vines all up them, like it's been there for such a long time. But yeah, I've just got like major Haunted Mansion vibes past the Dexter killing room.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, so I don't we never get quite shown in this episode what that is about. But then she enters kind of more this like round room that almost like looks like areas you see in all these like... Yes?
I think it might be a hexagon.
Well, this is what I wondered.
I think it might be 6 sides.
Okay.
Like 6 arches.
Because there's like a bookcase or a case of something of like skulls and magic.
Yeah, like bones and stuff, yeah. Yeah, the book I want to talk about in a minute.
Okay, so but it looks like a ritual area that you've seen all these mythical kind of shows where it's like people meet, covens would meet.
Like in every episode of Buffy, someone's got a basement that looks exactly like this, and there's always like a sacrifice happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Like once per season. Every house in Sunnydale has a sacrificial basement.
Oh god, yeah. So it's just, and so then when Wanda kind of is looking around, we see a bookcase and a book. Again, we'll touch on that in a second. And then Agatha walks in.
Yeah,
Agnes
and she
walks
fully
in,
introduces herself.
God,
no, she fully introduces herself as Agatha Harkness.
Yeah,
which is good to know that we were right the whole time.
Yeah,
from all the things that everyone's been saying forever.
Exactly. And but she's purple. And then I love...
Yeah, and I just...
Go for it.
Go on.
And I love that we get it was Agatha all along kind of thing, which if you listen to it, I could be wrong, I wish I could say it in better musical terms. I think it's the WandaVision song, but in like a slightly different key or whatever, but the beat is very similar. Instead of WandaVision, WandaVision, it's like, it was Agatha all along. I mean, it's a very same kind of bit, like not the way it's sung, but the melody underneath.
Oh no, what I was just wondering, because like the tune is like WandaVision, and I was just wondering if like I need to go back and listen to it again, but like it would be really fun if it was like inverted.
Yes,
maybe if it was like.
Well, yeah, because it is
WandaVision.
Yeah, or because it goes down, because it goes. It was Agatha
if anyone has
along.
Perfect pitch, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not like purposely trying to sing here, but yeah, it was literally like it goes down.
But I was just wondering if it was sort of something like that. Like it would be really cool if it was, but I'll have a look at that.
Yeah,
afterwards.
There's gonna be like other videos that talk about that too. They're big on the music ones.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I don't know. It's just like something I picked up on the second viewing, but I love, and it looks.
And she has such a good witch laugh.
Oh,
it's just such a classic cackle.
It's perfect, but it looks like she appears after Westview has been established, because that first shot She kind of floats.
Is her arriving
and then morphing into the 50s and kind of doing the little nudge. So I think Wanda already established this world, but then it kind of opens some vulnerability, and then she, Homegirl's like, oh, well, I'm just going to take the load here.
And I'm really hoping that we see that outfit that she originally arrived in later in the show, because again, like I said, that house is an aesthetic goal. That dress, those boots, that's an aesthetic goal.
I saw this and I was like, this is Helen circa like 2017 when we were like working on, I won't say what shows, but yeah, I was just like, this is what you totally would rock, like definitely. But yeah, and it was very interesting. I think the other thing that grabbed me was the Pietro, her sitting and having like a little picnic on the front yard. But Pietro, his whole back was that purple magic.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder that he's an illusion then, because everything else, is just kind of showing this illusion and that illusion, with the bunny showing up and the thing. And I knew she killed the dog. Oh, I knew it.
Yeah, like that's, to be honest, like I think we need to find out what her end goal is, because all of the things that she was doing, they don't have any context right now. It's like the first thing she does is just like turn up and befriend her.
Yeah.
And then she's like messing around at the magic show, but that doesn't like cause any problems. That doesn't do anything in particular, unless she was the one who like made Vision drunk. But again, that doesn't really change anything particular. Then it looks like she's the one who kind of made Herb sort of glitch out and start like going into the wall. Which again, like what benefit does she get from that? What benefit does she get from bringing in Pietro? That's what my real question is now, is like, okay, so we have like major players, but like what are their goals? We know what Hayward's goal is. Get Vision. We know what Wanda's goal is just keep doing the same thing, don't let anyone in. But Agnes is an entirely sort of entirely different thing now, because like in the comics she's been both Wanda's friend and her enemy. She's kind of one of those it's Marvel, everyone fights everyone at some point or another. But like she, in the comics at least, she taught Wanda how to sort of like harness these powers in like a greater way. So yeah, it's I'm still kind of in two minds about whether maybe Agatha like affected this somehow, or like even the broadcast, right? It's weird that the broadcast would not continue, and yet internally they would continue to act as though it was being broadcast. So yeah, there's a lot of questions that I have there.
Yeah, and then we cut to credits, and then until this morning, I didn't realize we had a after credits. God love my wife. She tagged me in something on Facebook this morning that said, "What does the end credits scene mean?" And I was like, "What?" I literally was like,
"End credits."
And I had just finished my rewatch, but again, didn't watch the credits. But yeah, so we see Monica, and again, you hear that cricket noise kind of thing, snooping around, and there's like a cellar, like old school, like Wizard of Oz, people used to live in Oklahoma and Kansas know this really well, kind of cellar, way to the basement. And it's interesting, I don't know if she's using her photon views, but she sees the purple.
Yeah, so there's two possibilities there, right? There's either she's using like her photon powers to see the witch energy, or the witch energy is then making her see Pietro, who's looking extra casual next to her.
Yeah, I wonder, because and I love just like sneaky, and then obviously cut to
what was it? Snooper's gonna snoop, or something like that.
So I'm wondering if this is Mephisto.
Could be. I don't know. It just seems.
He just seemed in the previous episode to know what both realms were doing. Like, I don't know how to explain it very well, and I know we need to wrap up for time here, but I feel like he knew too much to be like just kind of brought in whereas like Vision knows nothing past point A, Pietro seemed to not only know what's going on outside the hex currently, but what was going on inside the hex as well, and as well also the history. I don't know. There was just I don't know. I don't know how to even properly vocalize it. What I'm thinking in my head.
No, but like that's because that could absolutely be the case, right? Because I personally just sort of thought, oh, from the it was Agatha all along thing, we see her sort of magic up Pietro. If she already knows everything, then therefore something she created will also know everything. Fair. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It could absolutely be that. But one last thing before we go, or before if there's any more wrapping up to do, about that book.
Yes, please.
So the book has sort of orange energy around it. It's not red, it's not purple, which are like we established in this episode, even in the last minutes or so. Purple is Agatha's color. The only place that I've seen a book like that would be from Doctor Strange. In the library where Doctor Strange goes to read the book of Cagliostro, which is where he sort of learns how to use what is revealed to obviously be the Time Stone. There's all these chained up books in like, this library. One of them is missing. And it isn't the one that was sort of taken and stolen away. There is like a hole in there. I may need to go back and just check and see if they line up properly, but it was very much the color, the design, like the color, the design, putting like there's like the big sort of circular symbol in the middle. I just kind of wondered, and then also like part of me was like, orange, that's the color of the Soul Stone. Are any of these colors specific Infinity Stone colors? Because but like that would mean that Agnes would be like Power Stone.
Yes,
but I don't know how useful that would be.
Monica's Tesseract because she's blue.
Yeah.
Oh,
but yeah, it was just a thing that I thought I'd point out.
Yes, okay, because I have to again like the book. It almost looked like it had like an infinity symbol, but then also like two things down, which I've seen that symbol before.
Yeah, I didn't get a good look at any of the stuff in that basement. Like the shots were everything was just out of frame, it felt like, a lot of the stuff there. I am hoping obviously the next episode we'll get a little bit more of that set, and sort of start seeing some more of what I am anticipating to be chock-a-block set design.
Yeah, well, I
just
think
like full of good stuff.
You just made me think of something. We've seen now mostly everything in our promos, except this is our home, then let's fight for it, and the shots where Wanda is looking at the Mind Stone. I think that sequence will be in the basement. I also think we haven't seen it where like it was a very early days where like Wanda was in normal and then Vision went back to 1950s and they kind of went back on each other. But as we know, sometimes, and Marvel is very known for this, trailer shots don't make the final cut kind of thing. So maybe that,
or they could just be specific to trailers.
Correct, because as we know, that does happen.
Promo material.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I definitely have a vibe that where we see like the vision, the Mind Stone reflecting in her eyes and everything. I think that's going to be in the basement. Agnes is just like hardcore, like mind warping her kind of stuff. But that's my speculation. Yeah. Any other speculations or anything for you?
Well, I think obviously next time we're gonna have some pretty significant standoff. I would actually kind of enjoy seeing maybe a mind-controlled Wanda going up against Photon. Like sort of because it felt like Monica was kind of getting through to Wanda when Agnes turned up. Maybe like Photon could have sort of gotten Wanda on her side, but Agnes is like, nope, I'm sort of getting her back to what I want now. Or she could quite happily have, gotten the kids that she needed and be happily out of there. If we sort of go back to the old comic book thing with the kids being sort of Horcruxes from
Yeah.
Mephisto. I'm just going to keep calling it that because it's the easiest way to
Exactly.
describe. Like it could just be that she's just going to like, you know, pit them against each other and then try and get out of dodge and perhaps even encounter Vision on the way. But especially because Vision specifically asked Darcy, like, "Are my children okay?" It would be interesting to see sort of like Photon versus Wanda, and then outside you've got Vision versus Agatha, sort of over the kids. If that happens, I will be having like little party poppers and like balloons next week. Like, look at me!
I called it.
But I just think that could be kind of like a cool thing to see. We've also still got Darcy inside the hex.
Yes.
Like she can obviously do various things, especially with knowledge of the outside world. Hayward was planning to send in people by the sounds of it, so whatever happens there will happen there. And obviously, if it is going to be revealed that somebody outside is Skrulls, I can imagine it happening next episode with Jimmy Woo, just to give him something fun to do, to react to Skrulls.
Yeah, to kind of be like, hang on a sec, wait, what? Because that's true, because he won't know what Skrulls are, does he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, so that would be a fun little kind of gag, and that's where Telios shows up kind of thing. So,
well, that's the thing, right? If we don't know what the end goal is of sort of what it's all going to culminate in, because like with most Marvel movies, you're like, oh, so the end fight is going to be X or Y, and you can usually kind of tell. But with this, because it's been such a winding story and there's been such a mystery to it, I don't know what the end goal is going to be. And we have been told, you know, this starts as a sitcom and ends in a full-blown Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested to see sort of how that turns out, but without sort of knowing what the direction is, it's impossible to call.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just excited. I definitely, like I said earlier in this episode, I think that's it now for the sitcoms. It's now full on episodes. I think the only thing they will keep is because they've been doing this obviously from the beginning, is if we are in Hex, it's the whole full 16:9. If we are out of Hex, it will be yes.
That was actually something I just wanted to bring up as well. We did obviously see all the aspect ratios changing, but when Wanda went down into the basement, the aspect ratio changed again. It was in the dark, so it was kind of hard to see, but that then tells you that Agatha's basement is outside the Hex.
Oh, okay, great. So that just kind of fueled what I was just saying.
Yeah,
brilliant. No, brilliant.
Throwing that out there.
Awesome. Well, again, as always, it's been a fantastic chat. So where can they find us?
We are at wherestreams_CT on Twitter. Obviously, you can find us right here on YouTube. I'm KetsyItaN on Twitter. And Shannon?
And I am Shenanigen with an EN on Twitter. If you liked this and you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're listening to the audio version, please share to all your friends and family, as we are really enjoying breaking down everything WandaVision, the first kind of Marvel TV show. And yeah, I speculate we have 2 to 3 episodes left. Because again, Falcon and the Winter Soldier picks up right at March 19th kind of thing. Yeah. So also for all our UK listeners, you have 2 days left to get Disney Plus for £59 for the year, because then in 2 days, because we're getting Star, it goes up £20. But if you get it now, you will still be able to get Disney Star and everything like that. I'm not going to speak to the American audiences because you got things like Hulu and ESPN and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So don't know what's going on in the US, but for our UK listeners, so you've got today and tomorrow to renew your subscription at about a £20 discount and get the new Star. I'm really excited for that kind of stuff too.
Me too.
But awesome.
If you have any disagreements, please feel free to speculate wildly in the comments.
And yeah, we'll try to. And I'm going to try to. We'll maybe talk later tonight, and we'll put it on our Twitter. Maybe the book thing, to see if we get that locked down. Because I'm very curious. I might do some web sleuthing a bit later myself. Computer pending. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for checking this episode out, and we will see you guys next time.